Good evening, board members, Mr. Gonzalez, and district staff. The time is now 6:01 p.m. on this, the 17th day of November, 2021, and I call this meeting of the United Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. Mr. Ramirez is not here. Can you call your name for, just state your name for the record, please?
Ricardo Rodriguez, present.
Alisa Oliveros, present.
Javier Montemayor, present.
Ricardo Molina, Sr.
Let the record show that
Ramirez.
And we have Mr.
Mr. Castillo.
also
Ramirez
present with us.
and Frank Castillo.
Thank you.
We have quorum, ma'am.
We have a quorum. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Agenda item 3, if we can all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor and respect the flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Agenda item 4, do we have any public comments?
Good evening, board members, superintendent, district staff, and community. We have one public comment, Mr. Victor M. Vasquez.
Good evening,
Good
members
evening.
to the board and the public. I'm going to talk about the section number 7A, mostly disbursements. And it was brought to my attention that we still have business with Mr. Juan Cruz. And it's unacceptable. And a lawyer or firm, they've been accused, abused sexually in a minor, it should not be working for USD. It should not have any business with USD. And I'm here today not to see you guys' reaction. I want actions. I want you guys to vote. I want to see everybody voting. Whoever doesn't come to vote is a coward. It has to happen soon. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Agenda item 5, recognitions. Mr. Gonzalez?
So, Oliveros, yes, at this time we have, we're going back to kind of norm. So we're going to start with recognitions. We have 3 this evening. Ms. Lessa?
Good evening, board members. I'm Alessa for the record. Mr. Gonzalez. The Texas Association of School Psychologists selected United ISD as their 2021 recipient for outstanding delivery of psychological services. United ISD is the first district in the Region 1 area to receive this prestigious award. This recognition is due to United ISD's distinctive contribution in the area of psychological services, which includes the collaboration between licensed specialists in school psychology and school counselors on their comprehensive suicide prevention program. United ISD's Comprehensive Suicide Prevention Program was also recognized by the Texas School Business Magazine 14th Annual Bragging Rights issue. Due to the outpour of recognition that United ISD has received for the district's suicide prevention efforts, our district is serving as a model for suicide prevention across the state of Texas. Although mental health carries a negative stigma, United ISD has made great strides in changing the outlook on mental health and suicide prevention through multiple parent training sessions, ongoing professional development for teachers, counselors, and administrators through our collaboration with Dr. Scott Poland, who is an internationally recognized suicide prevention expert. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and Superintendent Gonzalez, United ISD congratulates our school psychologists in earning these prestigious awards and recognitions.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Gonzalez, and guests. It is my honor to share this great news with all of you tonight and highlight the honor recently awarded to one of our ESL teachers at Alexander High School. We'd like to recognize at this time Mr. James Trevino. Mr. Trevino has been selected by the Texas Association for Bilingual Education as one of the top 3 high school ESL teachers in Texas in terms of guiding students to achieve substantial growth in the English language proficiency assessment in 2021. Mr. Trevino was recognized by Summit K-12 at this year's STABE conference, which was held October the 26th, 2021. On behalf of United ISD Board of Trustees, Superintendent Gonzalez, we appreciate and celebrate Mr. Trevino's passion and commitment to supporting emerging bilingual students here at United ISD Alexander High School. Thank you, Mr. Trevino.
Yeah, over here in the, like in the middle. Good evening again. It is my honor to share the great news with you tonight and highlight the honor recently bestowed upon Antonio Gonzalez Middle School's amazing students, teachers, parents, staff, former principal Clotilde Games, and current principal Araceli Garza. The U.S. News and World Report recently published the Best Schools Report, a study which analyzed student data for 33,182 middle schools and its first ever rankings of all public middle schools currently operating in the entire nation. U.S. News ranked Antonio Gonzalez number 362 of 1,942 middle schools in Texas, designating it as one of the top middle schools in the state and nation, given that the demographics Antonio Gonzalez Middle School educates are 100% minority and 85% economically disadvantaged. For each state, schools were assessed on their students' proficiencies in math and reading as measured by STAR assessments, and bestowed a description of performing well above expectations in both content areas to Antonio Gonzalez. Half of the report's ranking formula is based on assessment, the other half on socioeconomic demographics. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and Superintendent Gonzalez, United ISD recognizes former Principal Clotilde Games, current Principal Araceli Garza, and the Gonzalez Middle School faculty and staff for their tremendous academic results, leadership, and tireless dedication to their deserving students and community. I'll take it right now. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries, no worries. Did we get that picture? Yes. Okay. Mr. Gonzalez. Is that picture coming?
You got any sanitizer?
Mine doesn't matter.
Yeah. I know, man.
I'm trying to pick up the chair. Let's see what, I did that.
Oh, you have to go up a little.
That's what I was trying to do.
Okay, agenda item 6, items for information only. Agenda item 6A, report of emergency purchase of disposable food trays from an unapproved vendor, Performance Food Service, in accordance with CH Local.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Gonzalez. Due to supply chain issues, our food service department had to make an emergency purchase for disposable food trays. The vendor we used was Performance Food Service, and the amount of the purchase was $49,999.57.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item 6B, presentation from Texas Department of Public Safety regarding border fence proposal.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Sergeant Nicolas Camano with the Texas Department of Public Safety. I'm a Highway Patrol Sergeant stationed here in Laredo, Texas.
My name is Major Mike Tressiter. I'm with Texas Military Department Task Force Operation Border Star, the engineering.
Welcome.
We're here to talk about a border fence, in particular the property that USD has along the riverbanks in South Laredo. It's in relation to Operation Lone Star, so I'll try to make it as quick as possible. I know you're pressed for time. Some of you did receive contracts with my business card. Well, actually, all of you did, and the PowerPoint was only unfortunately be able to put on 3 of the laptops. The whole point of this is to explain we want to construct a border fence along the property, to chain link fence, and it's to help deter. I understand that a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions, and it's not going to stop everything, of course, and we're being transparent about this. This whole thing is completely voluntary. It's to protect ranch owners and other property from coming across. On this first slide, you see the Texas State Guard, as well as on the left-hand side of the picture of migrants staging, ready to cross the Rio Grande River into the state of Texas. Here, once again, you see what was going on in Del Rio. We don't know where the next caravan is going to go, but we have to be prepared for anything. If you all know what happened in Del Rio, we got swarmed 10, 15,000. But Texas Department of Public Safety was there to protect the community. Once again, we see this constantly, stash houses, pursuits. Some of you, if you all live along the south side of Laredo, I'm more sure you've seen us involved in pursuits as well. Bailouts, foot chases, everything. This is a constant struggle of ours. More photos from a stash house, as well as the governor and the director of Department of Public Safety, Colonel McCraw. So the border fence, what a lot of people have misconstrued, it's not taxpayer money, it's privately funded. Americans across the country saw what we were going through, saw that the residents along the Texas-Mexico border were struggling, and us as state troopers were holding line as best we could with our local partners, federal partners. The whole point of this is just to contain and kind of push the caravans and the groups crossing into other areas, preferably the port of entry, where they can cross safely. UIZ property is prime where it's at by One River Road across from Magana High. I've been in your property. I've had pursuits that end in your property, and I've had load-ups that come out of your property. So no one's exempt from this. Organized crime that operates on both sides of the border affects everybody, even if we're not present. As you can see on the PowerPoint, for those who do have it, the fence comes in multiple models. Let me skip this, so I know we're pressed for time. No, skip. Well,
I don't have access to those pictures.
okay. Well, it's no problem. So I'll just leave it at that, and I won't go along with it.
I wish I could see them, but I can't. I mean,
No.
I guess we could walk over there, but
It's no big deal. But what I'm actually proposing is a meeting with all of you. I have been speaking with the attorney for the UISD, an actual meeting with myself, my captain, my major, Delegado from Weslaco, as well as Captain Hamilton, Major Tesser, and the rest of the Army Corps of Engineers who will be constructing this fence. This fence, like I said, it's free. It will be the UISD's property. And all we're asking is for a chance to explain everything, go through the fence, different models we have. If you need a gate, we will put a gate. We're willing to work with you. We are going to be taking care of the property as well, while the engineers are there. If there's damage, the engineers will repair it. There's a lot to this, but if you all have any questions, that's all I got as of right now. Like I said, I would love to have a meeting with all of you, and this meeting would probably be an hour or two, because I'm more sure you guys, some of you might not have questions right now, but I strongly urge, make a list, come to us, we'll schedule a meeting, and we'll answer every question you have.
You said it was a chain link fence?
Yes, it was concertina wire and barbed wire, C-wire. Like I said, all it is a deterrence, ma'am. I understand. It doesn't matter what we put. We can put the Great Wall of China there. It ain't gonna, people will always find a way.
No tunnel through.
But being that I've been patrolling this county, Zapata County, Stark County for almost 10 years, I can tell you, I wish I could release a lot of information, but I cannot. It's law enforcement sensitive and confidential. But before I became a trooper, I'll tell you this much. I didn't know there was issues. Since I put this uniform on, I have seen things get worse. Sometimes things start to get better, but yet they end up going back. For every step we take forward, we take 10 steps back. We got state troopers from Dallas down here helping us. We're overwhelmed, and it's constant. We have come to your schools to arrest students involved.
I've got two questions. So how much of this area that you're looking at belongs to UISD, and how long is this fence that you're asking us to consider?
Could we see it if we moved over there? Could we see it? Do you have pictures of it? Maybe we need to
I
go.
apologize, and we'll make sure we get to that.
I haven't seen the contracts, and I haven't seen other than this item.
The property is called One River Place.
One River Creek?
One River Place.
One River Place?
The property for the,
Yeah. Oh, okay, yes, sir.
yeah, because you say the property, it's One River Place.
One
That's
River
for the
Place.
record. Yeah.
I know we have property there. I know UISD owns property there. I just don't know how long of that linear.
It's a good stretch, sir. And the fence will go completely along the riverbanks. Of course, we're going to work with the International Water Commission to make sure no flood zones, as well as we're going to do surveys to make sure there's no endangered species or any kind of things that would interfere. In the event that we find out later on, down the road, that there was something that was endangered or something, the Texas Military Department will step in, the state Texas will step in to correct the issue.
These are areas that you've identified through your investigations. That UISD is an area that has a lot of
Yes, sir.
activity.
Yes, sir. I had a pursuit last Thanksgiving that ended in your property involving narcotics.
Yeah, the bridge was going to be built through there, the One River Place, but then they decided they wanted to do it on the other, over here on the other side of Rio Bravo. That's what they're proposing. The river was going to go right through there.
Yeah.
It's real bad area, real bad.
Oh, the road.
You can't use it for anything.
Well, I know this is just a presentation. We can't take any action on the item currently.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to know, you mentioned something that's privately funded, but do you have a list of who's funding this idea and where those funds are being stored or kept for your use?
So the way I was informed, it's probably funded from other people. We've had people from Montana donating money from all across the country. That money was allocated just for this. They didn't use it for anything else. There is no other, we're not going to buy other nice toys or anything like that. It's strictly for this. None of that's going into the pockets of anybody in the state of Texas. It's going to actually the security and
I saw in the
safety.
newspaper, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I saw in the newspaper, a billionaire paid 90% of that fence, or 90-something%.
Yes, sir.
It came out for about
I guess
a month ago or something like that.
Yes, sir.
90% or that they were supposed to pay the rent. But
That's
where
fine, and that's a good question too, because I was going to follow up just to consider if our community is actually funding this, or are those funds coming from somebody that we don't even know what their interest is in doing this?
Their interest is border safety, border security. But from my opinion, sir, if they're giving us money to help us build a fence and add more security, why would you say no? And I'm not here talking, and I'm not from Houston or some other place who doesn't live here. I was born and raised here. Yeah, I went to LIZ. I didn't go to UIZ, but I went to LIZ.
Okay. We forgive you.
But I was born and raised here. I've seen what it's done, the communities.
What about wildlife? You said you were going to look into that to see if it affected any of the wildlife having access to the water?
Yeah, so what the Army Corps of Engineers can do, they can actually have a gate there. You all just open it up, they can go in and out, and then when you guys are ready to close it, it can be closed and locked.
Okay.
If I may, they already made a study of the wildlife and everything, about 10 years ago, and they were gonna keep a distance and keep the cane stuff. They weren't gonna cut everything off, and they, I had a question, probably a stupid question, but I asked a lot of stupid questions. You know, we're worried about the fence. How about all those people, the United States is bringing or busting in? Like the ones, I live in Rio Bravo. There's a bunch of tents, about 500 people there. The hotel's full of people. How about those people? They bust them, and the illegals, you know, they have to go through hell and high water. I don't agree with that, and that's my opinion. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, sir, that's on the federal government, not on the state of Texas. And you being from Rio Bravo, I'm more than sure you've seen me pass by there. I've been there a lot. Those people that were busting in were the ones crossing the river, the Haitians that swarmed Del Rio. And just because it was pretty much overflow from our, Del Rio office, from the Del Rio district, because we label all the districts by the major city, so it's going to be the Del Rio district. They bust them and over here and try to separate, kind of spread the wealth, because that whole sector got overwhelmed. So all that was just trying to move people and kind of divvy up the workload.
I would ask, I guess I would ask our superintendent to forward the information to us, the contracts, the pictures, in the interest of time, and perhaps we can have a Zoom-style meeting,
Okay.
and if the board, wants to bring it back for any action, then the board can talk about it.
We'll get that to you along with the presentation. I apologize not including
No, that's
it.
fine. Yeah, I think it's just the whole setup is new, so we're adjusting
Okay.
to it, so that's okay. But yes, we would like to maybe discuss this item as an action item maybe at a later meeting, or do you just want like another presentation?
No, I think if we can, I want the information first, and
then we'll decide whether or
then we'll
not to.
decide if
Okay,
we
sure.
can do an action.
So that's what we'll do.
I think they had an MOU or something with the federal government for that fence quite a while ago. It's not about 4 or 5 years ago,
Yeah.
or longer. They worked out where they were going to donate the
Portion of the fence.
leeway, the easement
Right away.
and everything for the fence and everything. It had already been negotiated and everything, but I don't know. They can check,
Okay.
go back.
All right.
I just want to say, we're not taking any property from UIZ whatsoever. The property will remain yours. The fence will
Okay.
be yours. We're not doing any eminent domain, and we're not trying to seize any property.
Okay.
That's all we're doing. There's also other security measures that are in place. You set the time in place and how you want to do the meeting. I will get all the personnel from the line companies, from the airborne unit, everyone that will be involved in border security, along with myself and my chain of command, and we'll answer every question you have. However long you want to, if you want to go for 5 hours this meeting, that's fine, we will do it, and explain. We're all about transparency. We have nothing to hide, and we're focused on the public safety.
Okay, I like that, and I think the superintendent's office will coordinate that so that we can go into a little further detail with the presentation. And like you said, maybe we don't have questions tonight, but we might have more later on.
Perfect.
So thank you very much for your presentation. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We appreciate you and all that you do for our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where was I? Okay, agenda item 7. At this time, we move on to the consent agenda items. Is there a motion regarding the consent agenda items?
I'll make a motion to approve 8 through H.
Second?
Second?
We have a motion to approve agenda items 7A through 7H.
Second?
We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay, motion passes. Agenda item 8, items for individual consideration. Agenda item 8A, approval of donations. Mr. Gonzalez?
Solidaridad, yes, members of the board. This time, the following donations of $1,000 or more are included. The following donations were received for the golf tournament amount of $1,000 from the following: Border Area Youth League, Border Olympics Incorporated, Border Pools Maintenance, Cardinal Sports Center, Chick-fil-A, Excellence in Teaching, Falcon International Bank, La Posada Hotel, Laredo Federal Credit Union, Laurel Insurance Agency, Limitless Learning Education, Quantum Electric Company, Rotex Truck Center Incorporated, and Terrancon. A donation received from Mr. Thomas Mayer of $1,000 for Lyndon B. Johnson High School. A donation received from Bricks and Tile for $2,000 for the golf tournament account. The following donations were received toward the golf tournament account of $3,000, Raising Cane Restaurant, Laredo, Texas Hospital Company, LP, and Solid IT Networks. A donation received from Cougar Bus Line for $4,000, also for the golf tournament, as well as Toyota Laredo for $5,000. Another donation for the golf tournament from Paul Watson of $10,000. Two donations under $1,000. The grand total for this past month was $45,420.
Okay. Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second, anyone? I'll second. Second, Mr. Rodriguez. All those, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, motion passes. Agenda item 8B, approval of budget amendment.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Mr. Gonzalez, administrators, and members of the audience. We bring to you tonight for your consideration Budget Amendment 21-11. This is to recognize funds received by the United Independent School District Child Nutrition Department due to COVID-19 Emergency Operational Cost Reimbursement Program in the amount of $1,820,617, and for the USDA storage and delivery fees reimbursement in the amount of $134,674, for a grand total of $1,955,291 with no effect on fund balance.
Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Agenda item 8C, approval of RFP 072-2021, Global Positioning and Telematics System Services for School Buses and Service Vehicles.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The staff recommends approval of RFP 072-2021 to Synovia Cal Amp as the highest-ranked vendor meeting specifications. The vendor has agreed to hold the annual recurring fees firm for 5 years, and then the subsequent fees would be negotiated annually. The estimated annual cost, first-year cost would be $236,430, and then the annual recurring subsequent cost would be $85,080.
Okay, is there a motion regarding the approval of RFP 072-2021?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 8D, discussion and possible action regarding interlocal agreement and MOU between Webb County Juvenile Board and UISD for the 2021-2022 school year.
Good evening, members of the board, members of the audience. We bring before you our MOU regarding the Webb County Juvenile Center for our students to be served there. And this is a change of names. The information here basically is the services that are provided for our students at the JJAEP Center.
Is there a
This is discussion?
No. I have a motion. I need a second for discussion?
Second.
Second, okay, discussion?
Just, this is the JAEP program or the detention facility school?
It's a JJAEP, sir, from what I understand.
Just want to be sure.
Yeah, I think it says JJAEP.
Yes, she said that.
Okay.
Wanted to be sure.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against?
And I'll abstain.
You're abstained. We have one abstention. For the record, motion passes. Thank you very much. Agenda item 8E, Senate Bill 11, Texas Education Code 37.115-2DE, Safe and Supportive School Programs known as SSSP, Behavioral Threat Assessment, BTA revision.
First of all, I want to just communicate with the board members that yesterday we had our first safety meeting with our committee. There was about 20 individuals who were in attendance. I know Mr. Rick Rodriguez and Mr. Montemayor were present as part of the committee members. And so it was a very, very good meeting. We went into executive session, discussed some items so that they could be aware of as to our procedures and our protocols at the campus level. We had representatives from multi law enforcement agencies, and so we want to plan for a reunification group or a meeting that we would like to have with students at the arena in the future, probably in the spring semester. So that was on the table as a topic of discussion with this committee. It went very well. One of the other items that was on there is Senate Bill 11, which is the behavior threat assessment. We do have our SSSP program, and so the only thing I wanted to make sure that was approved by you all is that we, on page 9, the team, it is now required by the state of Texas that we shall have the BTA, or the Behavioral Threat Assessment Team, which we have been having our sessions with the campuses, and this is to monitor any student who poses a threat to him or herself or to others, whether it be a suicide outcry, a homicidal outcry, or any other type of behavior that can be a danger to himself or others. And so we are assessing those particular students, providing appropriate interventions for those students, and in many cases referring them to outside agencies and entities for them to get appropriate services. And so one of the items that is required here, which we did not have in our previous plan, is that the team must include four district level administrators. So we're including the executive directors at what particular level that may be, and in all cases, the director of health, guidance and counseling is also part of this assessment process.
Okay. I would just, I'm a licensed professional counselor and a licensed social worker, right in line with being a crisis intervention counselor. I would like to be included in this committee if I may, or is there a cap on how many board members can be in?
And the safety committee, ma'am, there is only a cap of 2.
Okay.
This is a behavior threat assessment. It's usually in-house individuals because we review student information, the actual threats, but we can certainly fill you in and I can find out.
Or just to the next meeting that you have with the students?
What I
You
can
said
do,
there was-
ma'am, and let me interject.
Okay.
I can step down and let her come in.
Okay, sure.
But
And-
this is, the meeting that she's referring to, sir, excuse me for interrupting, is not a meeting with students. This is the adult committee. You want to be with the student committees.
Oh, either, no, the adult committee's fine
Oh,
too.
okay.
Yeah, so if I step down, she can come in.
Yes, sir.
And I'll still attend as law enforcement representing the sheriff department.
Okay,
So long as
perfect.
we don't have a quorum.
Yeah, that'll be fine?
long as
Okay.
that'll be quick.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. I
So I'll make
appreciate
a motion to approve it.
it. Okay. Second, anyone?
Second?
Second, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Anyone against? Motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item 8F, approval of board minutes for the month of June 2021. Do I have a motion to approve the
So moved.
minutes? Second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item 8G, discussion and possible action regarding district's community service hours program. Any presentation
Are
on
we
this?
hearing a presentation or not?
Well, they presented to both,
Both committees? Okay, I think,
I have
They have any
The revisions were sent in.
something I wanted to say.
okay, I guess we could do that.
Let me, during
Legal
discussion.
counsel?
In
Yeah, you
discussion-
can, Mr. Castillo can speak on the matter if he'd like.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Go ahead. But it wasn't on both committees. That's one of the things that I was going to mention. It
Okay.
wasn't in both committees, so we didn't have a chance to look at this. So I don't know if there's a final product already prepared, and so I wanted to be sure that I have a chance to review it, because I'm the one who brought this item
Okay.
to the agenda. At least I'm at the forefront, right? So,
Yes, yes.
I wanted to mention that I co-sponsor this item because of the importance that community service hours plays in our students' educational opportunities when they apply for college, either private or public. It plays a role. And if I can explain further, I believe without question UISD has many talented and intelligent students who have been accepted to major universities across our United States. Today, however, the competition to get into a prestigious university is even harder. not only does a student have to excel in the SAT exam and attain a very high GPA, universities also require that our students be well-rounded. Among other things, our students use their community service hours in their application materials. I know firsthand because of my daughter what she went through. To show universities that they are more than just a person with good grades. Community service hours helps them. I'd like to know a little bit more about the controls and opportunities we have in place to help students and in regards to community service hours. Specifically, I would like to know how our high school counselors are involved in assisting our students with their community service hours, because they have to be collaboratively working with the school counselors to ensure that they are varied and interesting enough to garner the attention of the university admittance counselors. I also like to know how the district ensures that community service hours are regulated to make sure that such hours are relevant to the projected university admissions criteria. I hope that district administration can hone in on this area. At least that would satisfy my questions.
So do you want to table it?
I'll make a motion to table, only because I'd like to study your proposal, Ms. Rendon.
Yeah.
I know some of the activities that I've had students participate in has been outlawed, so to speak, by the district. So I'd like a motion. I'll make a motion to table so I can look at your proposal.
And really quickly, just legal counsel for the district. There's no legal requirement that requires the board to adopt community service guidelines. As you all are aware, there are numerous administrative guidelines within UISD that administration develops, adopts, amends over time due to circumstances that arise. So there's no legal requirement, but like Mr. Montemayor said, we can table this item. And I do know administration, I think Mrs. Rendon sent some revised community service guideline hours last week that have been sent to the board as well.
I think it just needs to be some parity across the board. It's always been the superintendent's decision to approve or disapprove, but as long as we're all on the same level, I think we're okay. I don't know what this document.
It was in the packet for the business committee.
The revisions are there, Ms. Rondon and her staff put that together.
Actually, I revised them after the business.
Oh, you
committee
revised them
meeting.
after?
It was revised.
Is it in our packet here? Okay, well.
The revision should be there.
So I
You should have
didn't
it.
look at it.
I did not have a chance to look at it either. That's
So
why
I did
said
revise.
okay.
We can table it?
We can table it.
Yeah, we can table it and
We have a
just-
motion to table. Do we have a
Yeah, second.
second? Okay, any other further discussion? All those in favor, please say.
Well, I was just going to say, and to hone in on this topic, I appreciate that.
Well, every year
Consider.
at the community center, they would send the kids from LBJ and to do hours for the graduation. So it's not a new thing. It's been for the longest time. They send to
Okay.
make hours.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it will be tabled.
Okay,
All those in favor?
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item 8H, approval of resolution of the Board of Trustees regarding reallocation of board proceeds for certain school facilities. Ms. Benavides?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. We're bringing to the board for their review and their approval, a resolution of the Board of Trustees regarding reallocation of bond proceeds for certain school facilities. We had our bond counsel create this resolution based on what we were advising him, and he did attend the October 12th meeting that the board had. It was a workshop on the bond program. And then after that, we had a meeting with the Bond Oversight Committee meeting on November 2nd, and we did discuss with them the status of the bond projects and the plan that administration had to not build a new Salinas Elementary. That in lieu of building Salinas Elementary in the area that it was built, that we provided a list of projects that we felt could replace that bond program. And that's why the bond council created this resolution, and it does make reference to Exhibit A, where there is a list of the projects that were considered. It was a fine arts facility for United South High School, a conversion of the current band hall to academic classrooms, welding shop renovation at United South High School, the auto body trades construction shop renovations at United South High School, the culinary arts classroom lab renovations, United South Middle School renovations and upgrades of science labs, and the Alicia Reese Elementary School renovations and upgrades of student restrooms and science classrooms. So this is the administration's recommendation.
I make a motion to approve on that, and actually, those funds have been there sitting for quite a while. I know that our constituents were waiting for Salinas, but our numbers are not going to be there. So unfortunately, we're going to have to put this money into use for these campuses where they're greatly needed. So without saying that, that's my motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion.
I have a counter.
We have a motion, a second, discussion? Oh, you have a counter motion? Go ahead.
I would like to see, I would like to table this item. I would like to see a little bit more fair distribution of this amount of monies from Salinas that we're not going to use to other districts.
Why would you do that, sir? If I may ask you.
You know what, I call for a vote.
Well, we need,
Right now,
before we do any discussion, we would need a second, or the motion
We would need a
dies?
second on the motion to table.
So
which
do
would
I have
then
a second?
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
To table.
Second?
Okay, second. Now discussion?
Okay, so now it would be, we're going to vote on the motion to table.
Or we'd have no discussion on a second motion? Okay. So we're going to vote, just for clarification purposes, we're voting on the tabling of the item.
That is correct.
So we have a motion and a second to table the item. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Aye, okay.
I say aye.
I'll do aye for purposes only of discussion, because as I said in the committee meeting, it's difficult. Can we have discussion?
I have discussion.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'll second. So the Clark Elementary GMP has been delayed until when?
Sorry, we asked Mr. Langhead to come.
To December.
Members from
Yes.
Leindecker, yes.
Yes, Mr. Montemayor, good evening, members of the board, Superintendent. Yeah, we're looking at approximately mid-December when we can get a more detailed cost breakdown.
Will it be
So,
ready
for the
by-
December board meeting?
Will it be ready by the next meeting?
Yes.
The Clark
Yes, sir.
Elementary GMP?
Correct, yes, sir,
Okay.
for the
I-
December board meeting.
I don't want to hold up Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Vélez's issues. I would agree to only table until I get the Clark Elementary GMP, and then we can proceed with their resolution as well, so we can have a clear picture of how all the funds are going to be allocated, how all the issues are going to be resolved. But I do think their issue does need to be resolved at some point. We've already.
And I think, got to understand, and I'm going to address to Mr. Castillo, that this funds, the bond money had already done. Your all schools were taken care of with the same bond monies. This was bond money that was supposed to be utilized for our schools in our site. Because when we went looking for the votes for the people there, these people are waiting for something for us to do for our site. Your all site got taken care of. I think Javi got his school pending, but your all schools got taken care of with some of that bond money. So I don't feel right that I have to steal from my constituents their tax monies to utilize more money in the north, and then we in the south are going to be shorthanded. So what do I tell my constituents? I don't think it's fair for the taxpayers to be their money to be taken away and given to the north instead of the south, because I think those votes came from us to do something for our schools.
I think
that's fair.
you need to compare the money that they spend at Alexandra for all those buildings that they didn't spend in the south, and they still want more money in the north. It should be equality. And I had a question for Mr.
Castillo.
For Mr.
Ms. Benavides.
Montemayor. Yeah, that proposed Clark, do we have the money? Because I don't want to take anything out of fund balance. If they have the money to build it, fine. They don't have it.
Right. I mean, that's kind of why we're here also. We're at this stage right here at the end of a $400 million bond program. We know that there's going to be overcosts like there were in other buildings because of inflation.
Yep.
We know there's inflation. We know, and you saw that item that Ms. Jackson brought, the supply chain is really affecting everything. And we have seen quite a bit of inflation on construction. So to answer your question, Mr. Molina, we probably are going to have to, as we're making these buildings, it takes a 2-3 year process to make these buildings, that we are going to have to probably find funds from other areas.
Yep.
Yes, to make our buildings, yes.
To me, the circuit balance is sacred, We have enough things going on that we need to have that strong balance strong, and keep it strong as it is,
So you got to understand that inflation has been going on for some time, and actually one of the projects that went over our estimated GMP was Molina Middle School, and that it cost more money than what we anticipated.
Yeah, but it was proposed.
No, it was not. That money, those budget amendments were not. Clark was in the bond.
Yeah, but you have enough schools around it where you can build wings with that $10 million that you have. You don't have to build a Clark.
We don't. We're promised in the bond a Clark Elementary. We promised a Molina Middle School. We promised a Juan Roberto Ramirez Middle School. All those projects. If we complete Clark Elementary, then we've completed 100% of the bond that we promised the voters. If we complete Clark Elementary,
we have the money.
And I don't have an issue with Mr. Rodriguez's proposed projects. Those schools do need the work, just like Newman, just like Alexander.
Yeah.
In fact, in the next couple of years, we're probably going to have to go back and look at another proposed bond to address some of the other schools that were built maybe in the 90s, and later. So if we do Clark, then we've completed our promise. And we have the money for Clark. The 20 million that's there can complete Clark, but then we also affect the other Salinas project that was not built, although we did name a school Salinas.
I thought it was 10 and 10.
Well,
20.
I think that was probably the best way for us to divide it, because Salinas Elementary was there, Clark Elementary was here. So, we had considered proposing to the administration, hey, let's just divide it down the middle.
And I'll tell you what, Mr. Montemayor, I think we keep on holding our projects. I think inflation is going to keep on going, and those 10 are going to even be less than that, and we're going to have to get more monies to build whatever we're going to do. So that's one of the reasons why I'm still with that motion, and I know that, I'm sorry, our other board member is missing, which Velis, and I know he would be strongly for it also, because that's what we had, I guess, we had already agreed on. I know Mr. Ramirez wasn't present, and
I was not present.
you weren't present. I know Mr. Castillo wasn't present because it related to us in our schools. Yeah.
But I do, if I may, I would like to further add to Mr. Montemayor's comments. And this is me as a United Independent School District as a whole board member. Because I don't play politics. For me, this is school business. We were elected to conduct school business. Let's conduct school business. I don't want politics involved in these decisions. If I was not a board member, when I know you all worked very hard to get this approved, but you promised the taxpayers something. And here we are, how many years later? 8 years later. I do not want to lie to the voters. Because if we said we were going to build something in certain areas, as I mentioned in the committee meeting, I have a problem not giving them what we told them we were going to give them. So whatever happened, our population decreased for United, but we promised those constituents money for that area. And I feel bad as a human being that we got people to vote on this under the pretense that we were going to do something, and now we're not going to do it. That is wrong to me. But also, that having been said, I know that Newman needs a new parking lot. I'm told people are tripping on the pavement. It's very dangerous. I know there are projects. But that's why when I was maybe inappropriately or wrongly in the business committee meeting, I recommended that we have bond counsel present to answer some questions that we have. And I did ask, I believe I asked the business department if there were other avenues for money to fund projects that were necessary. But when it comes to the bond, even though I wasn't a board member at the time, I feel I need to honor the previous person's commitment to the constituency when she sat here. I still need to honor what she promised them. And that is important to me. I'm not here for politics. I'm here for school business. And that's where I stand. Am I willing to postpone it to December so we can talk about some of the issues that other board members have? I'm willing to do that. But as I mentioned in the committee meeting, there are timelines. Prices are increasing. So I agree with you, Mr. Montemayor. I'd only go as far as December. I recommend also, here we go, another meeting, but that we meet with bond counsel and talk about this. I know legal said we don't have to keep the funds in that area.
That is
but
correct.
Ethically, do we have to keep the funds in that area?
And I wanted to add to that,
Well, keep in mind, we spoke.
Go ahead. I wanted to have an opportunity to say that I agree with actually both. I mean, I understand the needs of the United South, and we want to do that. My only concern was as a someone who's aware of the needs also in District 7 and also at Alexander High School. I believe Mr. Rangel was charged to try to contact them and determine what their needs were, because they actually did say there were some needs. And I don't think it would take the whole amount away from anybody. But in retrospect, these are UISD school district funds. They don't belong to me or any district here. It belongs to all of us. And we need to make a wise choice about where we're going to use that amount of money. And I don't know if we've already approached the Blue Ribbon Committee to ask them for permission, because I can say the same thing that Lisa's saying. In a few years, if we go back to a bond consideration, they might hold that against us, and we didn't do what we said we were going to do. So we got to be real careful with it. And I just want to bring that up, that I think these are the needs that I am aware. You mentioned one, Elisa. I have one.
And
really,
you know,
if I may, so I'd like to at this time, I know we're discussing Alexander. I have a copy of the expenditures for Alexander, which includes bond and from our general fund, which amounts to almost $14 million. I'd like to just share with the board at this time. Was doing executive session, but we're discussion. I'd like to pass it out at this time.
I've got something to say, just if you don't mind, sir. Let's all be realistic, the board members, and optimistic in the decisions that we make. And whatever decision was made prior to this night, we have to understand that everything was being done for the kids, the education of the kids.
Absolutely.
It's not for any political bias or for any board member to gain any spot in regard to this decision. We had to study it real hard. We had to split the money the way it is. The taxpayers, whenever this bond passed, didn't say, okay, so much is going to be spent for that, so much is for this, so much is for that, and nobody's going to spend more. No, we're going to, the money was already put up front by saying this is going to be equal for every school that we make.
And I think you're right, and I agree. It goes with the students. Now, with your saying, I do agree about what you're saying about the schools. We did deliver a little bit, but it wasn't entirely where it was supposed to be built. There was another Salinas, which there is a Salinas. It still exists.
Yeah, you did.
They just moved it a little bit further down, but still the money that we were going to use for the real Salinas there, that money's still there. That's why we need to relocate and allocate those monies that were supposed to be there, and that's why we're using it to fix our schools. Now, you all are more than welcome to come see United South, to see the band hall, to see how it affects our students. I mean, you're more than welcome to come see what it's like. So that way you all can see how it's, if you're talking about students, so you can go see how much it's affecting our students. That's why it's very much needed, and it needs to start as soon as possible. And we keep on holding and holding, it's going to keep on getting more expensive. And I can tell you something, since I sit in the appraisal district, I got to hear the taxes that are coming up, and it's coming stronger, and it's going to be harder this year than this year. Next year's going to be stronger. So value is going to be hitting us a lot more, so be careful. If we keep on stalling, so that's why, I strongly believe that this should be approved, and we can start as soon as possible.
I'm sorry.
I want to make something clear. I think there was a little misunderstanding what I said about Clark. What I said, I didn't want to spend any bond money. It's up to them to get the money from Clark.
General fund money.
Yeah.
No, from the bond to finish that school.
Yes.
That everybody.
And I agree.
And I agree with the children of the north and the south, and maybe it sounded wrong, but I apologize.
Oh, no, that's fine. I think for clarification, what you're saying is that Clark was originally in the bond, let's finish it. And I agree with what you're saying. The money was designated for Salinas. It should go to that area. I also agree with Mr. Castillo, there's still some other things that need attention. So
why don't we agree?
I think we have legal.
Yes, you had asked me earlier regarding bond counsel and whether we could allocate the funds to a different area. And I know Jaime Garcia from our firm talked to Dan Martinez, and he said, yes, you could. But the way the bond is structured, this was recommended by administration and the Bond Oversight Committee. So if we were to bring a separate resolution, one administration would have to go through their entire process of the new proposed projects, let's just say at Alexander High School. Then it would have to go to the Bond Oversight Committee for approval, and then we would have to come back for the board. So I don't know how much time we're talking about, but I keep hearing time is of the essence. So
it is.
That needs to be known.
I would propose
But it's possible, correct? You said it's possible.
It is possible, but we would have to go through the process. And just really quick, I know we've got.
Do we have a motion?
The motion to table is still on the floor. That is
The motion to table was approved.
No, it's not under discussion.
Okay, so I think we're still in discussion, Mr. Montemayor.
I would propose that the motion to table be amended to reflect that we bring this back at the committee meeting, which is probably the first or second week of December. Well, we'll probably only have one meeting in December because of the Christmas holidays. What meeting do you think that's going to be on, Mr. Gonzalez?
Be the second week in December.
Yeah, we're scheduled to have the Business and Instructional Committee on December 7th, and then the board meeting the following Wednesday.
The second week.
So.
I would just say we do it all on December 7th.
Yeah, so depending, I think, in this GMP that we can get for Clark Elementary and kind of time it with either those two dates, and then in between have a bond oversight.
I would ask that we do it in executive session.
Okay, so is that a formal motion amended? Can he amend the motion at this point?
I mean, the motion to table, now to amend that motion, we'd have to have a second term on that motion, and then we'd have to vote on that.
Who didn't vote on the motion to table?
We don't know.
I'm confused. What do we do?
From what I saw, obviously there was chaos. There was a motion and a second on the motion to table, so that's what we were discussing right now for the past 15 minutes.
So can we have another sub-motion to the sub-motion?
So Mr.
There you go, Mr. Montemayor, go ahead.
Motion.
We've done this before.
We now need a second for Mr. Montemayor's motion. If we don't get that second, then we're back to the motion.
Okay,
his motion.
Mr. Montemayor?
My motion is to table with just enough time that we can bring it back in December 7th meeting. It's the quickest meeting, and we do it in executive session.
Can I ask for discussion?
Second.
Do you second it? Discussion?
It's already second.
Discussion?
Yes. Why would it be to stall it a little bit more? It's just so I just want to start my project. That's basically it.
I just want to make sure that we're organized and that we all come out here.
I think it's organized, sir, but I think what I see is that, and it's.
Well, we can call the question.
And I also have to chime in real quick. We cannot discuss an executive session. The bond.
Oh, we can't discuss?
They cannot.
Okay.
We cannot.
Can we say why we're voting a certain way? No?
Excuse me?
Can I say, like, I'm going to vote this way, and this is my reason for doing so?
I mean, you can give your reasons for voting, but
Okay,
we cannot go into
so we.
executive session at a
Okay, so we have a motion and a
future meeting.
second to table till December 7th, and make a decision at that time in executive session. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
We'll take it one by one.
No.
Against? I'm against.
Aye.
Aye.
So we got a dead tie here. Nothing happens.
So that motion dies.
Okay.
So
I'll make a motion now to approve still what's on the table for United South.
I'm going to second that, and the reason for my second is because of the interest of time. I said that at the committee meeting. I'm worried about the increase in costs. And my concern is that we promised people who voted, who came, and we pushed them to vote, and I was in the audience at the time. I was not a board member. I am here to honor any board member. Hopefully it's me, but whatever board member it is, it sits right here, again. I will honor that, and so for that reason, I second the motion.
Do we have discussion yet? Or?
We do have discussion.
So,
Right.
Elisa, what I hear you saying, and I'll bring it up, we have to honor the wishes of the voters, but we can't because we're not building the school.
We'll keep the funds in that area.
Yeah. The funds belong to the school district. They don't belong to one area. That's what I'm...
But we had legal counsel say that we have to go through the whole process again if we're to change it.
Administration would have to.
And we did go to the Bond Oversight Committee.
We'll lose more money this way.
With recommendations from administration. Just for the record, the administration did take it to the Bond Oversight Committee. They did approve it as far as us going forward. As a district official, I can tell you that administration has visited every campus, for the most part, every campus has been visited. Mr. Rangel's, his team, also curriculum instruction, I visited those camps myself. So we try to honor it by the greatest needs. You know, I did provide to you the handout on the expenditure for Alexander. I know, Mr. Castillo, you've asked about that. Mr. Rangel's office is also looking at the magnet wing, so forth, but that does take time. But at this time, just for the record, we did prioritize. We did take it to the Bond Oversight Committee with the recommendation to move forward on this item. Is it time of the essence? Absolutely, it really is. But obviously, the board needs to vote on this.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Moving on to agenda item 8.
Medlida, you have enough time to get the money.
Give us
Don't hurry.
time, give us
Okay.
time, yes.
Agenda item 8I, discussion and possible action on the roles and responsibility for board committee assignments. And I believe Mr. Castillo, you have discussion on this item?
On the board assignments, I had asked Mr. Vélez if I could go to the business committee because I saw the amount of assignments given to that committee. But having said that, my only concern about the committee assignment is, are we a standing committee? Are these permanent committees? Because if we are, then the representatives who are selected for those committees have to be present and no one else. But I hear all the time, well, you can sit in or you can visit or you can be. I like to have some clarification what it is that can be or cannot be done. And so I know you're looking at me, but give me a second.
Yes, sir.
Tell you that I've seen how we operate, and yes, everything's out there in public. And sometimes, I'll be the first one to admit, sometimes I get a little bit hot-headed. And so I want to be sure that we are correct in how we're making those decisions. And it starts with committee assignments. It starts with what we can discuss and what is the purpose at the end of the day to have it heard other than to benefit the staff. I mean, do we really have a say-so to say, yes, I don't want this sent to the board, or we reconsider for later? Maybe I do want it sent to the total board members. I like some clarification because I see us going everywhere. That's my opinion.
Yes, sir. You might.
Go ahead.
For the record, Stephen Trautman, Legal Counsel. BDB Local, which is the internal committee's policy, which was adopted by the board, basically states that they are standing committees, both the business and instruction committees, and it states that they are 3 board members. So that was adopted by the board, and those committees are in place. And as far as who gets appointed to those, boards, basically the board president makes those appointments unless the board decides to place an agenda item to appoint someone. So that's pretty much the policy in place. It's about half a page. It's very simple. And, you know, if somehow these committees wanted to get absolved, it would have to be through board action or modification of policy. But
Okay, so basically it's up to the board president. If we want to do otherwise, we put an item on the agenda. I am fine being an instruction committee. Curriculum and instruction, I have no issue with it whatsoever. Was I correct if the last time when I attended a business committee meeting to answer a question, would it have been appropriate for me to have done so from the standpoint as an audience member?
Yes, you are entitled. First and foremost, we always post the committee meetings in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act for situations like that. So there was no Open Meetings Act violation whatsoever.
Good.
And as you know, we've got different board members on each committee, so there's sometimes more, there's a quorum there. But the best practice is to have the 3 committee members up at the podium or the table, and then anyone else that wants to sit that's not on the committee is more than welcome to sit in the audience.
Okay, so we're not breaking quorum, we're not even taking any action in
No.
those committee meetings, so we're not breaking.
The action isn't taken until we do the consent
Right
adoption here at this meeting.
And then if there is something on the consent agenda items that we'd like to take out for further discussion, we can do so by way of a motion during the meeting.
You can do it at this meeting or even at the business committee meeting. For example, the bond issue, there was some discussion. We pulled it and said that'll be for individual consideration. But if there's something that pops up between the committee meeting and the board meeting and you want to bring it out into individual consideration, you can do so by a motion.
Okay, so then, Mr. Castillo, you'll have a discussion with the board president?
Yes, and I guess the other point would be to make sure that, since we just recently changed officers, that we have a fair, equal, I guess, distribution of members as well. And that would be my only other question that I would have, is I think it's important, if it was important to change officers, it's important to change committee assignments.
Okay, there, it says discussion and possible action, but there's no action
is
items.
required.
Okay, so agenda item 8J, approval of board travel for the month of November 2021 to attend the TASB Fall Legal Seminar in South Padre Island.
Motion to approve.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Do we have discussion on the next one? Agenda item 8K, approval of requests from board members in regards to use of Board of Trustee discretionary funds for various campuses and departments. Mr. Garza.
Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Gonzalez, members of the audience. In addition to what was presented at the committee meetings, we have some additional requests. I'd like to read those into the record for approval. United South High School, Ms. Ariana Ramirez, on behalf of Mr. Montemayor, funds to purchase of volleyball equipment for the amount of $1,000. We have Newman Elementary, Ms. Garcia, Ms. Oliveros, sponsoring a purchase of a laminating machine for teachers and staff use at $1,449. And then the last item is for United South Middle School, Mr. Valdez, requesting Mr. Veliz sponsoring 2 set of basketball uniforms, 2 set of compressed undershirts for a total of $3,000. So those will be in addition to what was provided at the committee meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. Motion for approval, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Agenda item 9, closed session. The time is now 7:10 p.m. and the board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, and 551.087 of the Texas Government Code to discuss agenda items 9A to 9D. We should be back in approximately 5 minutes. No, I wish. We'll be right back. Okay, agenda item 10A, reconvene from closed session. The time is now very late and we appreciate your time. Officially 8:08 p.m. And the board will take appropriate action on items if necessary and discussed in closed session. Agenda item 10A, consideration and possible action regarding first and final reading of board policy DC local. Do we have a motion or do we?
Motion to approve.
Motion for approval?
Motion to second with discussion.
Discussion?
The only modification I'd ask is that before the superintendent approves, that he advise the board through their Friday packet for any
Exemptions to that? Okay, so legal got that in the record?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Agenda item 10B, possible action with respect to the execution of a purchase and sale agreement regarding the purchase of tract of land approximately 10.77 acres out of a 53.40 acre tract of land, which itself is out of a tract of land described in the deed recorded in volume 1089, pages 586 to 587, deed records, Webb County, Texas. The track is situated in portion 28E Martinez, abstract 241, Webb County, Texas. Such property being in the vicinity of the intersection of Saunders Boulevard and Loop 20 in Laredo, Webb County, Texas. The purchase of said acres will be from L91BC Properties, LLC.
There is no
at this
action
time.
required on this item, Madam Chair.
Agenda item 10C, consideration and possible action to accept for consideration Pradera, did I say that correctly? Pradera Solar LLC applications for an appraised value limitation on qualified property under the Texas Economic Development Act, Texas Tax Code, Chapter 313, assess an application fee, and authorize the superintendent to review the application for completeness and submit such application to the comptroller.
Yes, the recommendation is that the board accept for consideration Pradera Solar LLC's application for an appraised value limitation on qualified property, set a standard application fee of $80,000 for such application, and authorize the superintendent to acknowledge receipt of the application and application fee, review the application, and upon a determination that the application is complete, work with the Underwood Law Firm to submit the application to the comptroller as set out in Chapter 313 of the Texas Tax Code.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Agenda item 10E, consideration and possible action to accept for consideration, hesitate? No, pronounce it.
Hecate
Energy Output Solar LLC's application for appraised value limitation on qualified property under the Texas Economic Development Act, Texas Tax Code, Chapter 313, assess an application fee, and authorize the superintendent to review the application for completeness and submit such application to the comptroller.
So move.
Well, I need to get this language into the record,
Go
if
ahead.
you don't mind.
Yes.
The recommendation is that the board accept for consideration Hecate Energy Outpost Solar LLC's application for an appraised value limitation on qualified property, set a standard application fee of $80,000 for such application, and authorize the superintendent to acknowledge receipt of the application and application fee, review the application, and upon it determined that such application is complete, work with the Underwood Law Firm to submit the application to the comptroller as set out in Chapter 313 of the Texas Tax Code.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? No? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
And Madam Chair, I think you need to also consider item 10D as well.
Do you want us to go back to it?
Yes, that's fine. It's
10B
separate.
as in boy?
No, 10D as in dog.
D as in dog. Okay. Agenda item 10D, do we need to call it back up?
Yes, we just skipped it, actually.
Oh, I skipped it, sorry.
Yeah, unless
Agenda
I
item
gave you a bad
10D.
script, but-
Consideration
No, you
and
did.
possible action to retain school finance consultants, Moak, Casey and Associates to assist the district in processing and evaluating the financial impact of Pradera Solar LLC application for appraised values limitations on qualified property.
She did.
Yes, once again, the recommendation is that the district or the board move to retain the firm of Moak, Casey, and Associates as school finance consultants to assist the district in processing and evaluating Pradera Solar LLC's application for appraised value limitation on qualified property, and authorize the board president to sign such engagement letter with Moak, Casey, and Associates to secure such services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Agenda item 10F, consideration and possible action to retain school finance. Did I already do that one?
No, it's
No.
just for the other project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Consultants Moak, Casey, and Associates to assist the district in processing and evaluating the financial impact of Hecate Outpost Solar LLC application for appraised value limitation on qualified property.
Yes, once again, Madam Chair, the recommendation is to retain the firm of Moak, Casey, and Associates as school finance consultants to assist the district in processing and evaluating Hecate Energy Outpost Solar LLC's application for appraised value limitation on qualified property, and authorize the board president to sign such engagement letter with Moak, Casey, and Associates to secure such services.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Adjourned.